Hello and welcome to Satellites Does Alpha. I'm Charles.
I'm Martin.
And we're going to be your hosts for this incredible journey as we go through what it means to be a Christian and all those sorts of spiritual journey stuff that we'll be looking at. Can you tell me what you did when you arrived here this morning?
I did. Well, is this so that we satisfy all the church's requirements?
Oh, it wasn't really about that.
Social distancing.
It was slightly different, actually. I wasn't going with...
When I arrived, I came to the wrong entrance.
Yep.
Then you told me to go to the correct entrance.
Yep.
Then I sanitised my hands.
Yep.
Came in the correct entrance, sanitised my hands again, and then came in here.
Yeah, but what were you doing all the time that you were
I was
doing
on the
that?
phone.
You were on the phone?
Yeah.
Life is busy, isn't it, Martin Saunders?
You're right, it is.
Life is incredibly busy. And I don't know about you, but like there's often days that I'm like, I've just got so much going on. I haven't got any time to just think. I just have to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard work. And like, especially when you're at school, you've got school all day. Then you've probably got an after school club. Maybe it's tennis. Life is busy. And then you get home, you rush your dinner. I am an expert now at rushing dinners. Do you know what I mean? Like I can't cook.
Russian dinners?
Rushing dinners.
Oh, I thought you meant...
No.
I thought you meant like goulash.
No.
Is that Russian?
I think so.
No, it's Hungarian.
I wanted to take have a little fun quiz to begin this with.
Yeah, great.
Okay, so if you live, it's called the 70 years quiz, because if you live to 70 years old, on average, this is how long you'll be spending doing some of these activities.
Ah, I like it.
Okay, so how long do you think you spend your life stuck at traffic lights?
Like in your whole life, maybe like... maybe a week?
6 months. 6 months stuck at traffic lights.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Like 5% of your entire life is spent... I mean, it doesn't feel like 5% of any day is stuck at traffic lights.
No, it's bad, isn't it? What about waiting in line? Now, obviously, we're British. I don't know whether this is I don't know where this is based on.
I wonder whether Americans spend a lot more time in traffic lights.
Yes.
But less time in line.
Well, we're very polite.
Yeah.
Sometimes British people just queue for no reason. They don't even know what the queue's for, but
just
we
join
queue.
it.
It's
Yeah.
exciting. It's a day out.
You see a person, you stand behind them.
So how long do you think we spend on average queuing?
I reckon in this... Well, based on the last answer, I'm going to say we spend a year doing that, a year of our lives.
Yeah, 18 months.
That's even worse.
A year and a half. Okay. How long do we spend in transport? Like transport, whether that's walking, whether that's cycling, whether that's on a plane,
I think
car.
that's probably... So I reckon you might spend half an hour a day, every day of your life in some sort of transport. So I'm going to say, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 years of your life?
Yeah, 5 years and 9 months.
Wow. That's a lot of...
It is.
It's a lot of reading time.
It's a lot of reading time.
Unless you're driving. Don't read then.
Now, here's a good one. Okay, so eating and drinking
Yes.
versus watching TV. On average, which one do we do more?
Well, I would think probably you spend more time watching TV.
You're right. 10 years and 5 months we spend watching TV.
Wow.
7 years and 6 months we spend eating and drinking.
And do you know what's ironic about that? Even if you do that, you can't complete Netflix.
No. Oh, tell me about it. I'm trying. And finally, how long do you think we spend sleeping?
Oh, out of 70 years,
About 70 years.
like maybe 20 years?
Yeah, 20 years and 3 months.
Oh, so close.
Which I think is quite a long time. So, if you put all this together, you've got 570,000 hours left of your lives, right?
Well, if you're a newborn, yeah.
Well, if you're a newborn, yeah. And if you're old like you, then you've got a lot less.
Come on, this is
Now-
episode 1. Bring that out now.
Now, so I just think it's quite interesting. And it's like life is busy,
Yes.
but it's also full of questions.
Yes.
Like little questions like, what am I going to watch on Netflix, for example? What am I going to eat today? Have I done my homework? What homework do I need to do? And then there's like bigger questions,
Right.
like, how can we solve climate change? Who should I vote for in an election? And then there's the big question, which is, what is life all about? And that's kind of what we're looking at today, is this question of what is life all about? But before we do that, you've got 24 hours of your 570,000 hours left. What would you do? If you could do anything for 24 hours? Like, you had 24 hours to do anything.
You're asking
what
me
would you do?
first?
Yeah.
If I had one day, wow, I feel like everything that I immediately want to answer feels like a waste of the time. So I'd go and see my favourite movie in IMAX. I'm like, oh man, that might be 2.5 hours gone. So actually, that's a really hard question to answer. I think probably if I had 24 hours of my life left, I'd want to spend it with my family. Yeah,
Such a sweet answer.
they might see this, so
Yeah, it's true.
better that than say
I
go to
feel
loads of
awkward
football matches.
because I always forget about my family when it comes to this question.
Don't do that.
But it's not if you had 24 hours to live.
Ah, okay.
This is just if you could do anything.
Oh, I see. Oh, that's different.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, I thought I was about to expire.
No.
Oh.
That completely changes the question.
Yes, that does change the question.
If
All
you
right,
just
yeah.
had 24 hours, a free day, I guess.
Yeah.
And money wasn't an object.
Ooh.
Like, you could do anything. Let's say that you can transport anywhere really quickly so that you don't have to waste a whole 6 hours on a plane or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, for me, let's be honest, it's Disneyland.
You'd go to
I'd
Disneyland.
go to Disneyland. And if money wasn't an object, I'd buy out Disneyland for the day.
Yes. Just you.
Not just me. I'd bring like
Just
friends.
you.
You'd be invited.
No.
You could bring your family.
What you'd do is you'd be just you and the cast. Just you and Mickey riding the coasters together. I love that.
Totally would be.
What a lovely thought.
Be me and Belle just walking down Main Street.
Of course it
on
is.
a lovely day. Yeah. That would be my 24 hours. Watching the fireworks at night.
Yeah.
It's a small world after all.
Strong.
Yeah. Over to you. If you had 24 hours to do anything, what would you do? Great. Well, hopefully you came up with some better options than us as to what you do with your 24 hours and didn't waste it on going to Disneyland.
I don't know. I think
And-
that's a strong answer.
Well, Disneyland is great. It's literally titled the happiest place on earth, right? And that's its slogan. But I wonder whether that's true. Like, there's lots of things that we do that would make us happy for a day, but whether it would make us happy in a long-term situation
Oh, yeah.
is different. There's lots of different happinesses.
There's different kinds of happiness. So you go to Disneyland and you ride the roller coasters for a day, and you have this sensory pleasure that's like immediate to, oh my goodness, all the bright colours, oh the Disneyness, oh it's Belle, I get to go on these cool roller coasters and rides. I mean, people tend to go to Disneyland for like 4 or 5 days, and by the end of it, they're still loving it. But I wonder if they went for like 12 days or 20 days or 3 months, eventually queuing up for those roller coasters and sitting on them again for the 25th time, it just might not feel quite so exciting. And so there's short-term pleasure, but then there's also kind of different kinds of happiness. And then there's more of a sense of contentment, like a sense that like you're happy with your life as it is. So you might get that if you lived in or worked at Disneyland. I'm sure that was a career option for you at some
I
point.
auditioned.
Did you?
I've not told you this story.
No.
So I auditioned for Disneyland, and it was like the most.
So just trying to bring that back
Bring that back.
to my point. So there's another level of happiness beyond just like immediate pleasure, which is more like a sense of contentment. So in a parallel universe,
Yeah.
a sliding door moment, Charles Merritt actually gets the job as Goofy at Disneyland Paris, and suddenly it's a completely different. And you probably really would feel content being a cast member, and you'd feel like your life was going quite well. But I think there's like another level of happiness that's even deeper than those two, which is about a sense of like meaning, a sense of purpose, the happiness that comes from knowing you're doing the right thing, the right place, that you are, if I may say this, just in episode 1, really being the person you were made to be.
Wow, I can't believe we got to that so quickly.
And so I think it's interesting to think like unfortunately, Charles, spending your life at Disneyland wouldn't necessarily make you happy to the sense that you felt you were absolutely like getting the most meaning you could out of your life.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think.
No, and it's good. It's important to think about that, because I think we often go through life thinking, if I just get this job, if I just get these grades, if I just get this, then I will be happy.
Yeah.
And actually, when you get those things, you discover, well, either you discover, A, it doesn't make you very happy, or B, you discover, oh, I now need to do this to make me happy. So I got that thing, but actually I need now to go on to that. And we can get caught up in these goals and in these dreams and in these happiness bubbles, I guess, that we forget like the big picture, like the big picture of life, like what is life? And we'll go back to this quote, which we've said a million times, but it's such a good quote. And it's by C.S. Lewis, and it says, "Christianity is a statement which, if false, is of no importance, and if true, of infinite importance. The one thing it cannot be is moderately important."
Yeah, I think that's a great quote, and it kind of sums up why we're going to do this Alpha course together over the next few weeks. It's the idea of there's no point investing your life in something that's not true. But if it is true, if the claims of the Christian faith are actually true, and you're just sort of pootling along, kind of just being a sort of a bit of a Christian, what are you doing? If it really is the meaning of life, then we should understand what that means. So we're going to try and explore what that actually looks like over the next 12 weeks. Just gave myself the chance to dub. That's there. Nice. Yeah, does that work? Okay.
That's great. Well, we're now going to watch a testimony from a guy, and which tells you a little bit more about what we were just chatting about, but it's a personal experience.
When I was young, at the age of about 12, my mother had a major nervous breakdown, and she was hospitalized for extended periods of time. My father also struggled with alcoholism. I had two brothers, and we were basically left in many ways to raise ourselves. Those experiences marked me, and going to bed at night, I remember through my tears saying, "God, if you're there, I hate you." And I decided the childhood that I had was not going to be my life. At the age of 18, I committed to the idea of becoming a millionaire by the age of 30. So by the age of 35, the idea of being a millionaire had been achieved. I owned a company with over 500 employees. I had a beautiful home, beautiful wife, 2 kids. I could go where I want, when I wanted. I had way more money than I ever hoped for, but I wasn't happy. And I realized that there's still a deep darkness inside of me, a void. So now I'm forced into this really profound, deep journey. Like, what's life all about? I have epilepsy, and for some reason, I started having seizures more frequently. We have a lady who worked for us at that time in our home. Her name is Bonnie, and she was a very sweet lady, a Christian lady. Bonnie saw me after having a seizure one day, and she called my wife and she said that God had told her to come pray for me. And I said, well, I know it's not going to do any good, but I like Bonnie. So she prayed for us, and for some reason I cried through that process. Didn't know why I was crying, but Bonnie left and we thanked her for coming over. So the next day I saw a friend, a neighbor, who went to the same church Bonnie does. And I asked my friend, I said, "Hey, are you going to church tomorrow?" And he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, do you mind if I come with you?" He says, "Sure." He was quite happy to bring me. So the next morning we're standing in church together. And as the worship music begins, for some reason I begin crying. And I'm doing everything in my power not to cry, but tears are running down my face. And in that moment, for the first time, God's love for me was so real. The reality that He loved me was nothing short of completely and totally mind-blowing. I worked hard and pursued wealth my whole adult life, trying to fill a profound emptiness inside of me, a darkness that I walked with every day, only to discover that emptiness could only ever be filled by a relationship with the living God.
I'll tell you what makes me happy, Martin.
Cool.
Filming these videos with you. So, so the whole point of this is that we're trying to explore, what is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
And I think there's a thing where people think that science and religion or faith can't mix.
Yeah.
That they're complete opposites. And in some senses, absolutely true.
Mm-hmm.
Because they answer different questions.
Yeah.
So science is about how things are made, how things work. So you look at gravity and it drops, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like faith is about why
Yeah.
things are there. Why is there gravity? Why is there a
Yeah.
world? Why are we existing?
Yeah.
Like, what is this world all about? Like,
And actually, those two questions they don't really contradict each other because they're not really playing in the same space. So you're asking two different questions with science and faith. Now there are times, like with dinosaurs and that, when Christians can say, hey, science is all wrong, and we've got proof of that in the Bible. But actually, there's very few times where really science and faith kind of like crash into each other. I guess one which we'll talk about in weeks to come is the resurrection, where Jesus does something which is totally bonkers and science can't explain it. So sometimes faith crosses into science because it offers you something that can't be explained by science. But generally, as you say, it's just about the meaning behind the things that science puts some facts around.
yeah. And actually, there's a lot of prominent like Christian scientists,
Yeah.
both from history but also in modern day. So
Yeah,
like the guy who did a lot of work on the gene sort of
Yeah, Francis Collins.
yes,
Human Genome Project.
Yeah.
One of the smartest guys in the whole world.
yeah, and he believes in God, of
course.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
And and if you want to find out his story, I'm sure you can find out his story elsewhere about how he basically didn't really think about this question, and then did and was expecting to become an atheist through it, but actually became a Christian, which is kind of awesome.
That is
like
cool.
as a scientist, that's pretty cool. And I suppose it comes to this problem of head knowledge versus relationship. So knowing that Jesus existed, knowing that okay, so God exists, great. Jesus did what he did, great. Like it's okay, but why does that affect me? Like what sort of why does that have any relevance to my life if that happened 2,000 years ago or whatever, depending on which bit of the Bible you're looking at? Why is that still relevant? And I guess actually, like, I think people think this is the difference, I guess, between religion and faith, and I might get in trouble here, but I would say that like religion is about the way that you practice your faith.
Yeah.
So it's about the way that you you go to church on a Sunday, you take communion, you get baptized. Those sort of practices that we do to demonstrate that we're living. But faith is a lot more personal. It's a lot more about actually a relationship. So that's the amazing thing about Christianity, which I think sets it apart from a lot of other religions and a lot of other belief systems.
Yeah.
Is that actually it's about a relationship, like a living relationship with God.
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't know, it blows my mind every time I try and think
So
about it.
you might say, to sum up what you've just said, I guess, religion is about like what we externally do to like show other people that we practice faith, and that's there's a place for that, of course. But faith is about what's going on in here, inside our heads and our hearts, as we try to figure out what it means to know God, and that's different to practicing a religion, and probably much more important.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll probably leave it there. I feel like we've given you enough to think about. But let's just give you one more thing to think about. And that is the final question for this episode, which is, if you could ask God anything, what would it be?
Good question.
It's a very good question. I have not really thought about my answer here.
No.
It would probably be like, why do wasps exist?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I'm sure you have better ones. Over to you. How do we end these?
We could just have like an outtake or something.
Something funny that happened. Did anything happen that we're going to cut out? I feel like it went well. Why don't you do a thing where you stand up and then trip and fall?
Yeah.
How about that? And then we'll use it as the outtake. Great. That's perfect. We'll just do that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Great.